All right, so we've explored immigrating to Canada through economic and family class applications. Now I'm going to bring it all together, or at least I'm going to try. So here's the process I take to evaluate somebody's eligibility and narrow down their options to identify the best strategies. First, I start by asking if you are married to or in a common law relationship with a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. If the answer is yes, and you're living in Canada, then both the spouse and common law partner class and the family class might be available. If you're not living in Canada and your spouse or common law partner is a Canadian citizen, then the family class may be an option. Remember, permanent residents living outside Canada with their spouse are not permitted to sponsor that person to become a permanent resident. Even if you do qualify in one of the spousal categories, it's not mandatory to apply in that route. So I always would explore economic class opportunities as well, because I think it's important that everyone knows their options and makes an informed decision. So on the economic side of things, first I'm going to explore a person's education. If you have a high school or less than a high school education, then it's unlikely the express entry system will be available to you, and that we are going to need to explore provincial programs, perhaps a pilot, and look for opportunities that are outside of the express entry system, simply because the express entry system is heavily weighted in favor of people with post-secondary education. If you have a post-secondary education, my next question would be, do you have a year of full-time skilled work in Canada in the last 3 years? I'm trying to determine if you're eligible under the Canadian Experience class. There's a couple reasons for that. In general rounds of invitation, if you are eligible for more than one program, you will be issued an invitation under the Canadian Experience class. What I mean by that is if you meet the eligibility criteria of the Canadian Experience class and the Federal Skilled Worker Program, and IRCC holds a general round of invitation, you would be invited under the Canadian Experience. If you don't have a year of full-time skilled work in Canada, or that experience falls outside the past 3 years, then I would evaluate your eligibility under the Federal Skilled Worker or Federal Skilled Trades Program. Once I determine if you meet the criteria of one of the programs managed in the Express Entry system, then I would calculate your CRS score. I do this to understand whether or not you have a high likelihood of being invited to apply, and to identify what needs to be true for you to maximize your CRS score. For example, accumulating more skilled work experience, sometimes outside of Canada, is beneficial. Furthering your education, improving your language ability, learning French, these are all ways that you can increase your score and have a better chance of being invited to apply. If we believe you will have a competitive CRS score, then we would proceed with an application in the express entry system. If your score isn't particularly competitive, then we would go to explore P&Ps, pilot programs, and other regional options. Now, I invite you to use my process of elimination to help narrow down your options and guide you toward the program that's the best fit for your situation.